Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. It's time to do some more work on that pet right behind me. That's right, it is time to do some more work on that pet. I am trying to get as much work on that done as I can in the next little while because I'm going away for a while. And I can't take the pet with me. So in the previous video, we checked out that CRT to make sure that it was going to be functional. We turned it on and lo and behold, it was working. Unfortunately, the computer is only working with the 6502 ROMulator in there. And we couldn't really do a lot of testing because, well, most of the keys on the keyboard were not working. So today we're going to start with a bit of a cleaning montage to see if we can get that keyboard working better and see what that shows us. All right, but before we get to disassembling that keyboard and cleaning it, I have to give a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay, where you can have PCBs printed starting at only $5 for 10 boards. If you're new to the Fixing Retro Computers game, then PCBWay can not only print new circuit boards for you, they can help get you set up with the equipment you need. When visiting the PCBWay website, just click on the Module Store and you can find a wide selection of tools and other products you may need in your project. So why not try PCBWay today? Just visit www.pcbway.com. So, as I showed in the previous video, the CRT is working. And before I start tracking down the problems on the motherboard, I want to make sure everything else on the computer is working. So, as I showed before, some of these keys don't work. Some of them work. Some of them work well. Some of them work a bit. So I am going to take apart the keyboard, give it a cleaning. So this is inside the computer, obviously. This is the back of the keyboard right here. And as you can see, they had these very sturdily mounted. Obviously, somebody has taken this out before because it's missing 2 screws. But I just have to take out all these screws and not lose any more of them. And there we go. The keyboard is out. Now I just have to disassemble this and clean it. All right, so here is the back of the keyboard, and as you can see, it's got all the lovely little tiny screws, and they're flathead, my favorite. So the first thing to do is you've got to desolder the shift lock wires here. Now, something to note is that they actually cross over here under this piece of tape. So this one, the closest one, goes to the furthest, and the furthest goes to the upper one. So, you know, it's funny, in all of the computers that I've gotten, especially my Commodore ones, I don't think I've ever had a Commodore computer where I haven't had to take the keyboard apart and clean it. That is some very stubborn old solder. Now, I just have to take all of these out. Now, I was saying how I don't think I've had to clean every Commodore keyboard that I've gotten. That's not as common on all the other systems that I've gotten, except for maybe the Apple computers, and generally that has not been because of the keyboard's not working. It's been because they were just disgustingly gross. I don't know if something Apple did that... Well, probably because they're white keyboards, and it makes it so much easier to see all the dirt and grime and crap on it, because probably most of these other keyboards have been just as dirty. Just the Apple ones look worse. So, yeah, we'll get back to this once I've got all of these screws out. All right, that is all of the screws out. So there is the board. It's got a little bit of dirt and grime on it, but and there's the plungers. They've got the little tips on them, just like the other Commodore keyboards, so I know how I will clean those. Now, I guess it's time to start taking all of the keycaps off. I guess I should probably grab something to put those in. There we go. I can separate out the springs and the keys before I wash them all. So you probably don't want to watch me do all of this, so I'll be back. All right, everything is off. I've got the plungers that need to be cleaned on the edges. I've got the springs, and I've got the keycaps to be cleaned. Now, one thing that's a little bit different about this than other computers that I've taken apart, I've got two of the springs right here. One is actually from the spacebar here. Usually the spacebar spring is bigger than the others, but it is not on this one, so it doesn't matter if I mix them up. And the other thing is that it looks like this spacebar bar that's here is completely just bent into place, because without actually bending it out, I can't get the spacebar off, but that's fine. I can get in there and clean that and everything with that in place. So the spacebar is staying on there, but yeah, this all needs to be cleaned now. Now that all the keycaps and everything are washed, they're off drying. So the next thing is just give this a quick clean. There's a little bit of dust and stuff on it, so a little bit of IPA. Just a quick wipe down. There we go. Now we'll set that off to the side. The next thing I have to do is clean these things. Now, I don't know if this is particularly the best way to clean these, but it is a way that has worked well for me. So I use a little bit of IPA. And I just give the end. This is the part that makes the contact. Give it a little wipe down. And then once it's dry, which takes just a couple of minutes, I'll just show you with one of these. I take it and I just rub it on a piece of paper. And that seems to get any of the gunk that's on the end of these off. And then it seems to make better contact. As I said, I don't know if this is the best way to do this, but it is a way that has worked well for me on all of these Commodore keyboards that I have gotten working in the past. So I am just going to go ahead and do each and every one of these. And I'll see you when that's done, and it's time to start reassembling this keyboard. Okay, here we have the main keyboard part, looking much cleaner. So now we have to insert all of these guys. Now, if you look at them, they got wings on either side, and it looks like one side is bigger than the other. And there's 2 slots on either side of each hole here, so let's see here. And it does not fit backwards, so definitely they are 2 different sizes, so they go a certain way around. Looks like it's the big side to this side. So this is going to take me a little while to make sure that I get everything correct here. So I will be back when this is done. So you may be asking yourself, why, if these are round, does it matter which direction they go in? Why is there one side that's bigger than the other so that they can only go in one direction? Well, it's because if you look inside there, there's a notch on the inside and the keycap slides into there so that the keycaps can only go on in one direction. So you can't accidentally put a keycap on upside down or something like that. Now that they're all in place, I slip this on. Throw on a couple of the screws just to hold everything in place. Okay, so I'm only putting a couple of these in place, because of course they're a pain in the butt, and if I have to take any of this apart, I want it to be easy to do. So it's now ready for me to add keycaps. Of course, before I can do anything else, I can just do the spacebar since it's already here. Now I'll go see how the other keycaps are doing for drying. And we're ready. Got all the keycaps here to put them back on. Remember when I said that there's a little notch in there so that the keycaps can only go on in one direction? If you could see on these keycaps, the notch is right here. So there's a notch. Oh. There's a notch on this side of the stem, so that's what lines up with the notch in the holder. And I have everything back together now. The last thing is to solder these wires on. Keeping in mind that they cross, closest one furthest down, furthest away, upper one. So now I can put this back into the PET and hope that it works. And everything is back together. It's time to turn it on and try it out. There we go. Working, working, working. There's an extra character on there. I'll zoom in here and see if you can see that. When I hit the A button, it's adding an exclamation point, which is flashing. If I hit it slowly, it doesn't happen. Oh, now it's not happening. And it's spelling syntax error wrong. It's kind of there. Okay, so I'm going to play around with this for a little bit and see if I can figure out what's happening here. And while I'm playing around with this, then you can watch this short message from my channel sponsor, Retro Rewind. Retro Rewind for all your Commodore and Coco needs. Retro Rewind ships worldwide from Canada, but as a Canadian myself, I find it particularly convenient as it allows me to avoid all the expensive custom duties I have to pay when ordering from anywhere else. I use their products all the time. They are of excellent quality, and if you use my discount code of CRT10, you can save 10% at checkout. So visit Retro Rewind at www.retrorewind.ca. The link is in the video description. Alright, I am back and I have discovered some interesting things. There's a few keys on here, which I've written down here, that if I hit the Q key, it's normal. If I hit it a second time, it adds the exclamation point onto it right there. So it only happens when there's two in a row at the beginning. Because if I, for instance, go 2 Zs, doesn't do anything, and then I can do 2 Qs, does nothing. But as I pointed out before, it's also writing the wrong letter for syntax error. Now, when I did the PET test earlier in that last video, it showed that there was a problem in the video RAM, basically, that it was filling up the screen and it wasn't getting back what it thought it was going to. That's what that garbled screen that I was getting when I did the PET test meant, that it didn't move on in the test because it was getting an inaccurate thing for the testing the video RAM, which means probably these added characters that are coming onto there are the problem. And I don't know why it's spelling syntax error wrong. So there's got to be something wrong in the video RAM circuit. All right, that keyboard is working about 1,000 times better. And yeah, we have discovered yet one more problem. We discovered why the pet tester looked so garbled and didn't continue testing, because there's a problem in the video RAM. So there looks like there's a problem with the regular RAM and with the video RAM. Now, the two video RAM chips that are in there, I did test out in my VIC-20 and they seem to be working fine. So I have a few ideas of what to do. I'm going to first do a little bit of swapping with those chips, and then I'm going to start looking at the other chips involved in the video RAM circuit. But that's for the next video. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget that a like, a subscribe, and a comment below are all things that help the channel out a lot and are greatly appreciated. And don't forget that if you are visiting Retro Rewind, make sure that you use my code of CRT10 at checkout to save 10%. Alright, I will see you in the next video.